Uh, good day. Hello, everybody. Good day, good afternoon, evening, morning, whatever zone you're in. DMGeezerjim here, aka Jim, and we have Tenfen, aka Josh, joining each other for a chat. We're kind of starting to do a little podcast. Two friends, two Dungeons and Dragons players from different generations, both chronologically speaking and edition speaking. But we both agree on we enjoy the game, and we're both sitting here playing fifth edition. So there's that. So we got a little bit of common ground, but we've got very distinct, different views. You know, and we're kind of sitting here chatting, sharing stuff, sharing this and that, kicking ideas back and forth, feeding off of each other's different perspectives, different views, and all that kind of stuff. So say hi, Josh.
Hello.
So we're getting kind of new at this thing, but it was kind of one of those. It's like, yeah, that was fun, that was cool. What should we talk about? What should we talk about? And Josh had brought up a little. Well, go ahead and go through what you were just saying a little bit ago.
About which thing?
The new player stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I was bringing up how I think that a lot of people who want to get into D&D are a little kind of standoffish about getting into it because they might not necessarily know how to do it or know what it's about, or and a lot of people don't want to go into a situation and not know anything about it and be like, oh well, now I need these people to teach me this thing, and I don't want to put this burden on them. So it might be useful to have something where we can talk to beginners and be like, hey, look, like this is some information you might want to have before you go into it, and this is what you can expect from a game, and kind of stuff like that. Because I'm sure a lot of people out there are well aware of the Matt Mercer effect, stuff like that, where people come into a game expecting, voice actors to be playing, but I
Yeah.
mean, not everybody's a voice actor. It happens.
Yeah, I mean, and
You
that's a
know?
legit thing. That's honestly, I guess this is coinciding with the new popularity in the movie, the fifth edition
Stranger
launch slate,
Things.
the cultural everything, Stranger Things, Critical Role stuff, the Deus Ex, whatever that is on what am I thinking of? The Amazon cartoon.
Oh, yeah, same thing. Matt Mercer's people, the Vox Machina
Vox
stuff.
Machina stuff, yeah. I almost said Deus Ex
Yeah.
Machina. That's a real good movie, but that was the wrong thing. But anyway, yeah. So, what is D&D? And it's evolved over the ages. What it was doesn't really matter. It might if you're a history purist, if you want to know what's going on, and we can bounce that around as this conversation goes. When to me right now, as a fifth edition, mostly forever dungeon master, it's a collaborative storytelling experience built around a agreed upon framework, i.e., the rule set.
Yeah.
That's the simplest, cleanest, easiest I could say if I have to sum it up in one word. Whether just to expand on that, whether you're doing storyboard sharing, kind of the just the people get together and the what is it, text-based RPG or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's no different. We're just we have a unified set of rules that codify how things are handled as we tell our story. What do you think?
No, I mean, I actually fully agree with that. I mean, I know that like old school D&D used to be way different, but yeah, at this point in time, I would say I completely agree. It's just collaborative storytelling. DM kind of is the person who sets up your world, and you all tell a story together. And right right now, I would say that like that's a big thing that like a lot of people aren't getting into for as far as like their DM experiences, because a lot of people are expecting like that kind of Matt Mercer thing, but like DMs DMs aren't going to act that way for a lot of people, and that's what I'm like trying to
Yeah.
get across. Where it's like they're just there to facilitate a story more or less. They're not there to, I don't know. A lot of people don't make these whole worlds, these whole experiences, these vast things. Some people just run a module,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and that's perfectly fine, and it's completely acceptable. And then you can have fun games just running something that Wizards of the Coast wrote.
Yeah, and yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's a really good point. When
yeah,
I'd say a collaborative story, that doesn't mean that you're sitting down for the next 6 years and playing out every scene from your own version of the Lord of the Rings saga, as it
yeah,
were. It's
completely.
sometimes that's the expectation, and that's a campaign, and those do happen.
Yeah,
But that's not just the only way to play D&D. That's one of many ways.
I gotta say this because like I know that like a lot of D&D was inspired by like Tolkien and like Lord of the Rings, but I would never want to play Lord of the Rings the D&D campaign. It would be the most boring campaign ever.
Oh yeah,
All right, roll for exhaustion after your 34th day of walking.
yeah. Well, and yeah, that's a mechanics thing. But at the same time, it's like there's the Desert of Desolation campaign or our Avernus campaign. That is kind of part of it. When you sign up for a
Yeah,
campaign, there's certain things, and that's the width and breadth and depth of Dungeons and Dragons. There are rules and there's frameworks and there's settings that support the survival thing. The Rime of the Frost Maiden. You're rolling for cold damage and exhaustion through frostbite, things like that. So to those that are like, nah, D&D's stupid, it's just a live action cartoon. If you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to do the math and keep track of it, it can be as rules detailed as you want it to be.
yeah.
But
That's actually something that I really appreciate about D&D is that there is a game out there for anyone. Like if you want to do the hardcore, like make sure you have all your food, make sure you count every arrow that you fire, like, oh, you better get sleep every night or you're rolling for exhaustion, like kind of stuff like that.
yeah,
There's people who run games like that. There's also people who run games like, I don't care. I know you have a throwing axe. You know, you just go ahead and throw it. I'm not going to ever count it or anything like that. You can go pick it up 1,000 times. It's never going to be a problem. You
yeah,
know, people that play real fast and lose, real fast and
yeah.
lose.
And I mean, as an old school, like started out in basic in 1982, 83, old school. Basic, advanced, BECME, all of that kind of stuff. That's kind of one of the things that it's like I've got to train myself to adapt to a new play style and all of that. But there is a lot of the downside of Dungeons and Dragons is it's not Skyrim, it's not World of
Yeah,
Warcraft, it's not Guild Wars 2, it's not Dark Souls, it's not any of those games. Number one, you're sitting at a shared table.
yeah,
So all of those games, you're the star, you're the man, you are it, you're the Dragonborn, you're the chosen one, you're the Neverrain if you're playing if you're a Morrowind fan. Here, you're one of five, as Josh is
yeah.
fond of saying, we're three-quarters of an idiot here, combined.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing that you got to kind of understand and realize when you say what is Dungeons and Dragons. It is a shared experience. And that's logistically, that means that when you're playing for 3 hours, you're going to be sitting for probably an hour of that listening or joking or something like that because there's four other players at that table. That's kind of one of those things that doesn't really get brought up because people, go ahead.
That's a fair point. No, I was gonna say that's actually a fair point. Where a lot of people expect to be, the main character. And and there are games where there might be a DM that's willing to do that kind of stuff, but for the most part, if you're going to a game, like you're doing it with other people, like and your characters might not even be the main characters even for a campaign. Like it happens. There's several campaigns I've seen where people are the side characters to the main story. That
Yeah.
they help the actual heroes instead of actually being the heroes, which sometimes is a cool little twist you can do.
Yeah. And now the flip side of that is, and let me set this by a new dungeon master, a new play group, keep your expectations low. If everyone shows up at the table, gets to roll the dice a little bit, gets to make some funny voices, even if they're bad, or doesn't even make funny voices, just, you're speaking in third person. My character, Ronaldo, goes to the bar and asks for a shot of scotch. Okay. Did you have fun? Did your group mates have fun? Did your DM have fun? Are you going to come back in a week or two to do it? You just D&D'd. You just won D&D. You know?
That's actually another thing. Like a lot of people think of like winning because it's a game, but like I wouldn't say that there's so much winning in D&D. You can finish a campaign. Like yeah, you might complete the quest of the campaign, and that's your end point. But I don't think that there's like winning or losing to the game. I, it's really just about like the actual journey more than
Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
right now. But yeah, and I know you come from a point in time where like a 10-foot pole was a required item.
Well, yeah. When Dungeons and Dragons first came out, it was a fantasy game. but it was only fantasy in the sense that you had a bunch of old school historians that sat around, and I'm sure you've seen the tabletop wargaming conventioneers that they set up. This is what these dudes are doing, and they're doing it with, plate mail armor and long swords, and they're like, what happened if Merlin showed up on a battlefield? What would Gandalf be able to do? Well, then how would an orc? And that's how it all started, man. So it started as Warhammer 40K back in 72, basically. Not with the sci-fi stuff, but the OG Warhammer Fantasy Universe. I'm not saying that they started it. I'm just saying that's the idea.
Yeah.
It went from Napoleonic era, chivalrous era tabletop combat to a little bit of fantasy. So yeah, which what Josh is referring to is back in my day, it was a number simulator, and it doubled down as a number simulator in 3.5. So, you know,
Fair.
but it's not that anymore. It can be if you
No, no, no.
want, but it's not that. The idea of the dice rolls are there. Compared to third edition and certainly compared to first edition, second edition, the dice rolls are minimized. I would say it's pretty similar to BECMI, OSR. If
Yep.
if you're looking at a comparison, if you're familiar with those terms, basic, expert, companion, etc., etc. Dice are there for fun to settle up, but you know, if you need it to arbitrate everything, it's there. But it's like whereas 3.53,
Yeah.
you had four books to look through to get to the adjustment number that you really needed when you said, I want to do this, and while I'm doing that, I want to do this, and then when I land, I want to do this. Okay.
Uh, I was actually about to say
Good.
that. Like a lot of people are worried about the math involved in D&D, but like it is not like that anymore. Like I think like the biggest thing now is like, oh, how do I figure out what my spell attack modifier is? Is like the most math you'll have to do. you know?
Well, as a player,
Yeah, as a player, yeah.
as a DM, you're going to get
Yeah.
thick into math. It's not required off the top. That's so don't let anyone scare you. Dungeon mastering or playing, it's something you build into. And if you never get past the rule set that you picked up in the starter set in the Lost Mines of Fandler, and you're able to have that fun with that and build that with you and your play group for the next 26 years, good on you. Good on you. That's all you
Yeah,
need.
absolutely. No, yeah, and I completely agree. Yeah, and that's what I was saying earlier. It's like kind of the beauty of the system is like as long as you have like the basic framework, you can run it any way you want. And like you don't even have to run fantasy if you don't want to. You could reskin it to anything you want. Not to mention that they already have stuff like Spelljammer where you can do space stuff, Planescape coming out soon.
Yeah,
All that
so
stuff. Yeah, it can be anything. You can play westerns. I've seen people do westerns with D&D,
yeah, exactly. So Dungeons and Dragons, by its title, is a fantasy, high fantasy, magical role playing game. By sitting at the table with your friends, you look at it as a collaborative storytelling event. Um, by the flexibility of it, you want to start small. You want to start with a basic set. I mean, I'm not plugging Wizards, but Lost Mines is a good starting point for the vast majority of people. It gives you a decent small area to play with. There's a variety of different encounters, kind of guides the dungeon master through how to handle some dialogue. But it leaves a lot of gaps and space for you to fill in. If you're a new guy, there will be some places that you're like, oh, I'm not sure what to do here. And if you're a veteran, there's going to be a lot of places for you to go, ha 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 ha. Point being, it's a great place to start. Pick your start point, hang out with your group a little bit, and then just kind of grow with the game. Let learn rules as you need them, add content as you want them. Don't ever feel like my compulsive butt where I have to buy the new release the moment it comes out. And then when I know the moment it's coming out, I thumb back through my 35 gig library and go, oh, I'm missing two expansions that in the 1996 release of this setting book. I should. You don't have to do that. You don't have to be that guy.
Man, I'm gonna. Yeah, they honestly have such an addictive like model to buy books because I buy every book that comes out and I use like a quarter of any of them. Like so many books
Well,
I've never even
oh
opened or
shoot.
looked at that I
Oops.
have.
Okay. It's hold on. Damn it. I think I froze my stuff. Okay, we're good. Sorry. Had a little bit of freak. Oh, or is it still freezing?
Uh oh.
Uh-oh is right. Yeah, I've got to stay on. I can't open up anything else. My apologies.
Oh, you're good.
Okay, it's working. The feed's working. But I was what? How old is Fifth? Is it 10 years this year?
Is it really? Oh my goodness! Tell me, don't tell me that. Hold on. Let me
Yeah,
look
you
here.
Google up. You're not running the recording. You have a little more flexibility on button pushability. I could have swore I read that it's 10 years old.
Jesus, you're gonna make me feel really old if you tell me that. Oh my god, it is.
Okay,
It was well, not yet, not yet. Hold on. The play test came out in September 20th of 2013. It was actually released on July 3rd, 2014. So
so
almost 10 years.
9 years.
Almost 10
We're gonna be 10 years
years.
we're gonna be 10 years this July. So over the course of 10 years, man, they didn't release a ton of stuff. You know, book wise, I think it was probably one of the lighter release schedules aside
I was gonna
from
say in comparison, yeah.
in comparison to
Yeah.
everything else. I mean, now merchandising, toys and dice and cool stuff and spell cards and play mats and
Oh
all.
yeah.
Dude, it's
We've been seeing that
Hasbro, man.
shelf.
Well,
Like, yeah, like
the 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 international toy company Hasbro owns the property. They're going to monetize it. No one means you don't have to buy any of it to enjoy your D&D experience.
you
The
know.
toys don't make Dungeons and Dragons. The miniatures don't make Dungeons and Dragons.
No,
You,
they
your
don't.
friends, and your dice and your imaginations.
Yeah. I literally for a while ran with they sell these like these tubes of just random plastic figures you can get, and I bought like a fantasy one, a sci-fi one, and like a graveyard one, and that's like all I had, and I used those for like they cost me like three to $5 a piece,
Yeah,
just junk, like that's all I use. You can do it out of paper tiles if you want to. I've actually seen like videos of people playing D&D in prison, and they literally just use folded paper with
yeah.
like stamps on it or something, like colors on the back of it. That's all they're using.
I mean, when I kind of
Yeah,
got back into fifth, yeah, when I kind of got back into the fifth edition with the kids around COVID time, we were using Lego minis. Legos and Lego minis was everything we needed for everything. Oh, it's a big monster, so I take you know two 2x4s and stack another one to make it a 4x4. So whatever suits you at your time. I mean, you don't. And honestly, there you'll hear the terms theater of the mind. So we're gonna get a little deeper into it now. So we kind of talk
yeah,
about what D&D is. How do you play D&D? Um, as a player, you're gonna read the rules. You don't you're no matter what you're gonna look at, it's gonna look intimidating. Kind of skim the character classes for your first time you're playing. Pick a character class that sounds cool and just focus on learning about that guy, that
yeah,
fighter, or that wizard. You don't have to memorize every spell. Hell, I'm a DM. It's their responsibility. When I say give me a reading on that spell, they better have that reading. And if I follow them up and say, okay, you left this part off of it, there's always hell to pay.
yeah, yeah. I
But
mean, and we literally some of us have been playing the same characters, and we'll cast a spell constantly and still go, wait, hold on, what does that actually do? Like, you don't have to have it all
mm,
memorized. That's why it's written down somewhere
you
for
know,
you.
now this is not a plug. I know people will call me a corporate shill. Use D&D Beyond. If you set up your free account, free access, especially if you're intimidated by the math, it's going to do all the math for you. Um,
100%.
if you're not worried about the math, you don't want to support the corporate giant, go to your favorite
It's
freedom
free.
of information source site, pull what you want, go buy you a set of 99 cents from Target, and you're still playing D&D. It's okay.
Yeah. I mean, even I was playing online before D&D Beyond actually even had the full character sheets with dice rollers and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So like, yeah, you can do it without all of this. There's several places out there that offer free dice rollers that are just digital dice rollers. There's places that give you character sheets for free. There's all kinds of places out there. You can find a way to do it if you want to do it
If you're sitting at
without
home,
spending a dime.
yeah, or if you're sitting at home with your friends, there's multiple. I mean, Wizards provides a free printable character sheet. You know,
I was gonna say that, yeah.
Wizards owns D&D Beyond. Part of their gift to the community is they have the free basic rules. You go to their site, you pull them down, download the PDF, make 2 or 3 characters, print off some blank character sheets, and never go back again. You have what you need to play D&D.
100%. You really do.
If you want to expand on it, then that's where the extra content comes in. Now the plus side of that is people kind of accept it as canon, as code, as an addition to the rule framework. So it's one of those that, well, we accept all of Tasha's stuff into basic rules because it's been vetted, play tested. So it adds a dimension to it. It's not required to play.
Yeah.
So all the
Oh,
extra,
100%.
you got all the books back there on the shelf and all that kind of stuff. You got the same shelf. You don't have to have those to play, as long as you have a basic rule group and an imagination.
Don't let my stack of books fool you. At least 2 of those are duplicate books. I 100% think I have like Player's Handbook like either 2 or 3 times back there.
I've got 4th editions filling in the corner of my shelf. So that's not as impressive.
Yeah.
Like I said, I went, once I got back into it, I went full digital. I love the searchability of PDFs, being able to snag whatever I need, do whatever I want out of it. I'm a big proponent of digital files, illegally obtained digital files.
Yeah.
But so how are we playing? Are we playing digitally? Are we playing Theater of the Mind? Are we playing live with minis? All 3 are viable. Playing through text, turn-based text D&D exists in a multiple different formats.
Oh, 100%. I was actually invited to a Discord server at one point in time. That's all they do. They play D&D with like a built-in bot that rolls dice for them. That's open for everybody to see. They never get onto anything. They play it literally just throughout the day as they can. Like it's just a 24-hour D&D game that's going on. Yeah.
Yeah. So those exist through all of your multiple different chat formats, whether it's Discord, Google, what is it? Google Meet, Google Chat.
Oh, I don't know what it is now. They change their names constantly.
And then you got your Skypes, and then you've got your Zooms, and you've got your Facebook chat. Whatever your preferred digital chat program is will suffice for playing Dungeons and Dragons Theater of the Mind style.
100%. Roll20, even if you don't have one of these, Roll20 has camera capture, it has voice capture. Roll20 is completely free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate Roll20 as a dungeon master, but I will absolutely 100% suggest, if you're looking for a format to play with your friends, it's quick and easy to set up. You can be in voice chat. There's a built-in die roller in there for you as well. You can have a map up, and you can be in business in a virtual environment very quickly.
100%.
If you're kind of on the fence on it, you know what? We're not talking on the fence. Day one players. What is D&D? Roll20 is a good utility to sit down and hang out with your friends online and play. Sitting with your people at your table, dry erase board, and a ruler, and some poker chips, and you've got tokens.
You can go to any hobby shop and buy a grid map. They're not very expensive at all. I think I paid maybe between 15 and 20 bucks for the largest one they had.
Yeah. So you're just dry erase, drawing your stuff on, move your pieces around, make your die rolls high, yeah, boo, and you're in business. You can take it. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and that's really what it's all about, right? It's not about like having like the items to play it or anything like that. It's about like having fun with your friends at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't matter if you're playing right or wrong, I played a campaign where somebody had like the action economy completely messed up, but we were so early into it that none of us knew. We were having a blast with it, and it was a fun campaign. Like we were playing completely wrong, but we were having fun with it.
When I got back into 5th, I was blowing the whole bonus action dual weapon offhand fighting for a long time, until I really sat down and read it and reread it and reread it. And then it was a lot. No, guys, we've been doing this wrong the whole time. No, guys, we've been doing this wrong the whole time. But it's getting into the details of the word. So
to be fair, they do write a lot of the rules very poorly, very poorly.
Wizards, if you need an English editor just for punctuation, I won't touch anything. I'll promise you, I'll put the semicolon where it's supposed to be instead of the comma. I'll make sure your resistances are what they're supposed to be, because y'all don't know how to punctuate dick. Excuse my terminology.
Yeah, there's so many times where it's like a comma or a semicolon would change this whole thing, and it would just make it easier to figure out how to actually do it.
Or it makes
even simple things like you can't technically resurrect people because the resurrection spell targets a body, but when you die, you become an object, and it can't target objects. So like, It's just simple things.
So there's, but again, but we're a bunch of
Yeah.
veterans. I'm a crusty old salty bastard, shakes fist at cloud, Dave Simpson kind of a guy. Um, he's a smart brother over here. So we've been playing for a while. So yeah, we're like, yeah, nah, 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 nah. New people, ignore that last little screed, ignore that last little rant.
Yeah. Because honestly, like it's not a thing that like you'll even care about until you start to get more into playing the game. It's just like,
But that's the beauty of the game. If
yeah,
you enjoy it, if you found a group and you've spent the time and it kind of gets into your blood, you're gonna want to learn more. You're gonna want to build a little bit more on it. You're gonna want that next book. I don't want to say it's like, oh, feed me. It's not like that. It's just to help you expand, to help you guide your
yeah.
imagination, help you with a little bit more codification, if you will.
Yeah.
You know?
I like as I'm he mostly DMs, I mostly play. So he has like settings that he's built up. Like I have characters. Like I have characters that I have never played, will probably never play, that I've just made just because they're fun. Just
Yeah.
because and sometimes they'll put out a new book and I'm like, ooh, what would this be like if I built it? Just because I want to see what it looks like.
Yeah. And
Never
and
never play with it.
and guess what? Josh is playing D&D when he does that. you
Yeah.
know. And what I laugh about, it's like, you can't play Dungeons and Dragons solo. I kind of go, be a dungeon master. You're going to be playing a lot of Dungeons and Dragons solo.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
you know,
fair.
you can be digging into the lore, checking out maps, building out your maps, building encounters, rolling the dice for the encounters to see how they actually work. This is mid-level to higher level. Don't want to scare you away. Low level DM, focus on reading the box text that tells you what the characters see. Make sure you've read the encounter a couple times before the party gets there. You're good to go. You don't have to memorize everything on the map. You don't have to memorize everything in the book. You just need to have an idea of what the players are about to step into. That's the extent of what you need.
See, and I don't DM very often, but I'm the lazy DM side of it, where it's like I'd much rather go, hey, this is just a world that I made up, and these are the people that are in it, so I don't have to have all of that information in my head, which is just fine. Like homebrew is totally a thing, and
Yeah.
back to the D&D Beyond Chilling, they do offer homebrew stuff. You can just freely make your own homebrew monsters, type them up. It'll click on shit, roll it, like,
Yeah. There's
yeah,
a
all of
there
it works.
yeah, low level, or I don't want to say low level. Newer users, everything that you want is a search away and a click away, and functionality is there to take care of all of your roles. More
Yeah,
complex users, or if you're looking at, so what else can I do? You can get in there, and I've got kind of a side project where I'm rebuilding the 854 monsters that I've discovered from first edition and second edition that don't exist in fifth edition. And getting those set up through the macros are a butt whipping, but you can do it.
yeah,
You can bring all of this old stuff or all of this new stuff, or you can make up your own stuff. You know,
yeah,
the
absolutely.
the purple scaled spiked dragon of fire eye ray shooting. You can type it up and you can make it. And you can roll it on your people.
Hell yeah.
you know.
And honestly, people who do that stuff, you will find very quickly how to balance out encounters, because you'll make a monster and go, okay, well they killed that immediately, or you'll make a monster and go, oh well, I just almost TPK'd my party.
hmm
So you'll figure it out real
Yeah.
fast how to balance it.
So I mean, balancing comes with time. That's why I
Yeah,
kind of keep dropping back to Lost Mines. Um, it's pretty well balanced, but it all still, the funny thing is, a lot of people, if you start reading about stuff, you get into reviews, it's like, well, you can TPK the party on the very first encounter. Yeah, you can. Welcome to being level 1. Welcome to having random numbers as part of life. Um, so, I mean, that leads you in another place. You're playing a game. You're not playing to win or lose. You're playing to get forward a little bit. So if you're DMing, you know, it's okay to like roll behind a screen to make sure your people make it through the very first ambush of their lives as they learn where's my do I use my sword or my bow? Dude, this goblin's around you, shanking you in the gut. Do something. I can't find my, you know.
so for beginner DM thing, just if you're going to roll behind a screen, roll behind a screen. If you're not going to roll behind a screen, don't roll behind a screen.
Don't
Because the
change.
second you start rolling, yeah, the second you start rolling behind your screen, if you're rolling open the whole time, your players are going to be like, okay, now what's he doing? Like why does he all of a sudden need to feel like he needs to roll behind a screen, and they're not you can even lose trust from them going like, okay, you're fudging rolls now
Yeah.
because you rolled that behind a screen. So I wouldn't go back and forth. I just pick one and stick with it.
I'm gonna look at you guys. I'm gonna look. I mean, Josh plays with me. I fudge rolls in support of the collaborative story.
I do too. I
You
know a lot
know,
of DMs don't want to do that. I do too. Like
this.
sometimes you roll high and your players are having a bad night, and it's like I don't want them to die just because they're having bad luck with dice.
Yeah,
I can understand if they did it to themselves. Cool, we'll roll hard,
right there.
but yes,
If your character, if the party rolls up into a place that they're not supposed to be, shows their butt to everyone there, throws a pile of nasty against the chief and says, "What's up?" I'm rolling hard. I'm rolling for real. I'm going to KO them. They're going to wake up in jail. But if it was just one of those random encounters, they caught 5 kobolds grabbing some stuff out of an overturned cart, and they can't hit these kobolds, and these kobolds have hit everything, and you don't want to kill 4 level 3 guys because 5 kobolds are lucky and they're not.
yeah, exactly that. So yeah,
So that's, but opinions vary, and I respect people's stance on being purists. When I was in the day, I was a purist. I rolled in front of everybody, and you got what you got. You know,
yeah.
but in first edition, there was so many ways to get what they wanted. What I wanted, it wasn't even fair. It was like
Yeah.
visible torture.
Honestly, up until 3.3, 3.5, like 1 and 2 are, yeah, just try your hardest to kill your players real quick. Like, hey guys, show up with 25 character sheets tomorrow. Like, like stuff like that.
Well, yeah. I mean, there was a series, the S series of modules, S1 through technically 5, I guess 6 if you include the Labyrinth Madness and the Dancing Hut of Baba Yaga. That they tell you, encourage your characters to make other characters when they play this, so they don't actually kill the characters they really care about. Just treat it as a one-off, But then your people are like, "Oh, that's an awesome sort of the god slaying, sun summoning sword." Well, you don't get it. That wasn't your character. What?
Yep. Yep.
But again, we're getting kind of
Yeah.
You got old dude. He's want to have his little mind wander, and so. But yeah, new players, new DMs. Relax. Focus on little bits. If you're a dungeon master, what do I need to be able to do to play? Understand the rules. Understand the action economy. Okay, understand how the sequence of turns go and how that interacts. Don't worry about memorizing everything. It's okay to make mistakes. 100% okay to make mistakes. Your players will respect the hell out of you if you make a mistake and you come back and say, "Hey guys, I ruled this wrong. Let's go ahead and adjust this way in the future."
Yeah.
I'm the DM, and even if I made a mistake, it's not a mistake anymore because I'm the DM, and that's law now. And that's not the best way to
On the same hand, sometimes that you do need to do that as a DM though, and be like, look, this is how I'm ruling it. Like we're not going to sit here and argue about it. And you might even be able to come back to them later on and go, hey, look, okay, I read over it and you were correct about this. But sometimes you don't need to just sit there and argue with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't let it derail the whole game just because this person wants to be a rule lawyer about something.
Yeah, that's another yeah, that's a good point to bring up as well. When you're looking at 5th edition as a collaborative thing, everyone at the table has a responsibility to learn their character, to have an understanding of the flow of the game, but to play. I use a generic term called "in the spirit of the game,"
Yeah.
and that we're all here. Respect first and foremost for me. It comes down to time. The dungeon master spent. Even the lazy DM has spent a half hour to an hour preparing the session beforehand. Just clicking and dragging monsters, making sure they remember what's going on. Your more in-depth DMs are probably spending too damn much time building their worlds, knowing that no one's ever going to see 96% of what we build. I've got probably between my Waterdeep and Greyhawk spreadsheet, I think I'm 1,100 deep on NPCs. I've got a name and a job for everything and everybody. They don't ever see that. Doesn't matter.
I literally once duplicated a city like straight. I was like, oh, it's their sister city, just so they would see more of the city.
So whatever the time has been spent, whether it be, a half hour to an hour or 6 months of novel like story building, DM's invested some time in preparing something for you, the players, to come in and have fun. You, the players, have marked off your time, made sure you're scheduled, showed up, checked into your character, kind of mentally falling into your role. So you're committed as well. You're committing the same time. Your commitment is no less than the DM's. I'm not trying to make it. I don't ever want to make it sound like the DM spent the time you have to do. No, 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 no. They chose to do that. That's part of the fun of being a DM. Personally, that's the extra solo play that we get to do that y'all don't. But everyone is there at an equal share of time. So it's very important that when you're playing, you're recognizing that you don't want to um, waste an hour, I don't know, 20 minutes arguing a ruling on something,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
even if it's important to you in that moment and it can change the balance of that encounter. um, you break the whole spirit, you break the flow of the game. You mark it off as something and you learn from it later, and oh, next time we'll rule it better.
Yeah,
So yeah, keep that in mind. Whenever you derail into an argument, you're wasting three other people's time that probably don't have a lot of stake in this little rule fencing match.
yeah, exactly,
So yeah,
exactly that.
so yeah, we're come to the table with a collaborative attitude. A good DM, and everyone that DMs will eventually be a good DM because it comes through experience. It comes through, and I think even more so now, because the idea that you're communicating and collaborating with your players to build something that we want to do makes it easier. You know, Back in the day when it was an adversarial thing, I was, walking out of B. Dalton with shit under my jacket with my friends so they couldn't see the cover of the module I just bought that we're playing next weekend.
Yeah,
So it's different now. Now it's like, well, what do you guys? How's this sound? If and you're not. I don't see it as spoiling. I don't see it because you know what? Every person that plays D&D now can go to Google, type in Curse of Strahd, and know everything that happens in the module in 2 pages of wiki. I mean, 10 minutes of
yeah,
wiki scanning. You know everything about it. So we're not playing in a world of secrets anymore. So it's okay to collaborate with your players. Take their input, take their interest, makes your job as a DM a lot easier because they're more engaged in what you're doing.
yeah. I mean, and even on top of that, like you can do house rules for a lot of stuff too. You know,
Hmm.
lots of people do that kind of stuff. I I I had a DM at one point in time, and this totally blows action economy out. Like, but he was like, if you don't move on your turn, you can have 2 free actions. Like if you don't move, 2 full actions, which blows action economy. But we had a lot of fun with it.
For a little while, anyway. But yeah.
Oh man, no. It was bad at the end of it when I was a light cleric and I could do 2 full rounds of casting. Oh,
I'm
it was
still,
always fun for me as a player. I don't know about him as a DM.
yeah, I'm still going to stand here and do the same thing again. I think I'll stand here and do a couple of different spells this time. Yeah, so balance is something that you will discover as a DM. It doesn't affect players as much in fifth edition because it's tilted heavily in the player's favor. Because you're
Yeah,
you're
oh
here,
yeah,
you're heroes, dude. You're supposed to be badasses.
absolutely.
And that's okay. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're playing just for the whole point of I want to DM so I can, what is it? So I can feast on the tears of the dead players, dude. There's way better systems to do that in 5e. Take yourself, go play something else because you're gonna be disappointed.
See, and I hate that too because like I think that there have been so many cool moments where it's just like just because we've played together for a while and things have happened, like we've built up this story together where like you can have moments of like a character death can mean like so much more than if it's just like, oh, I'm none of you are ever safe at any point in time. Anybody could die at any moment, kind of thing. Like us being able to know, like, okay, our characters are safe for a little while. We know that we can take this stuff. Our DM's not trying to kill us, so we can
Yeah.
care about our story, care about our characters, stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Absolutely. So and that's the role playing aspect of the role playing game. We've been talking about how to stage a game. Role playing. You're inhabiting the persona of your character for that session. Obviously you break in and out of character depending on your play group. That's something that each group kind of decides themselves. We break character a lot. I mean, we're in fourth wall breaking fools, man. Pop culture quoting Joe Dirt slinging Talladega Night talking fool right here, okay?
Yeah.
It's okay because we have fun with it. But and I guess the same point is when they notice that I haven't really made any references or breaking character, it kind of brings the focus in, oh, this is something real. He's not talking like Ricky Bobby right now. He's actually pronouncing and he's, so, it's okay to shift gears in there. You don't have to be freaking Sir Ian McKellen from the moment you put your DM hat on and until you're done. Find your comfort zone. Some people don't break immersion, and that's cool. I'm, I like to have fun. I like to just kind of relax and crack up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's also a thing. When starting off, sometimes you might go to a table. It, we're gonna call it a table, even if it's online. You might go to a table, and it might not be your vibe, and that's okay. Like you can find other people to play with, because there might be people that are like that. They're like hardcore role playing. Like you come with a voice, you know everything about your character's backstory, like like everything about the world around you, so that you can role play this, And that might not be your bag. You might not want to do that. So you might be like, okay, I'm gonna go find a table that's a little more lax. And
Mm-hmm.
there are tables like that. You can go to these places, like yeah,
You know.
um, because yeah, we have people that don't do voices. We have people that do voices at our tables.
Oh,
You know,
I do all
yeah.
kinds of horrifying voices. They all sound the same some for some reason, but
My
I,
favorite are the Canadians.
don't you know? But that brings up a really good point. Josh and I are talking about our tables. We're in 5 campaigns together. I think we've got 20
Yeah.
total players between the campaigns. Um, yeah, amazingly did the math on it. 28 have flowed in and out through our play groups over the last 2 years. We've had a lot. And that's not a
Yeah.
bad thing or a good thing. Life happens. Hell, I had one guy that started, great player, cool guy, had twins. Love you, brother. We'll see you when you come back in a couple years when your kids are older.
Yeah.
When they sleep
Like,
through the night, come play again, bro.
yeah, we
So
had another friend that had to drop out just because of work. It happens.
yeah, so I
So
mean, but the point being, we've got a wide plethora of players, a wide plethora of styles in our play group. But the one
yeah.
thing that we have done, and let me just tell you this: my wife is part of our play group, my sister-in-law, and one real life friend. Everyone else in this group, we have met online through Discord, through Facebook, through whatever.
Yeah.
So this is a 20ish person group that's been built through D&D on Discord.
Yeah.
So it can be done. You can build a nice big play group. Just invest in the people. Make the players, make getting to know each other, make getting to enjoy each other's company the priority before you really start focusing on the game. Early on when I was getting into digital campaigns, I didn't do a really good job of that. And, some people didn't end up getting to enjoy their experience of playing, and that's on me as something you learn. Mistakes are made. It's okay. No long-term damage. But because there wasn't a commitment to each other at the table, it was really harder to resolve inter-character issues. It's like, are you
Yeah.
being that way because that's your character, or are you being that way because you don't like me? There was never the initial part that was established that we like each other to where the second part was assumed. He's just being his character. Does that kind of make sense?
No. Yeah. And I was actually gonna say that, like,
Oh,
if you have to play with people online and you've never met these people, don't be afraid to be weird. Anybody, if you're playing D&D, you're a nerd. The bottom line, you're into fantasy or in magic and stuff like that. You're some kind of nerd somewhere. Don't be afraid to be weird.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you
absolutely,
know, you
absolutely.
know.
And if anyone gives you crap because you're being weird and having fun, as long as you're with it might not be the situation for you, might not be the table for you,
Yeah.
But part of that is like I said, take the time. If you join a game, if you're out there, you're a new player, you're surfing the boards, you're like looking for, just got in, wanting to find a game, and you get an invite, and you haven't had a couple conversations with the people before the start of, certainly not, oh, we've got a campaign going on, we're 5th level, bring a cleric and come to ready to play. You don't want to join that campaign, fool. You, as bad as you want D&D, you don't want to join that campaign. If it didn't start with, hey, I'm Bob, we run this style of the game, I'd love to sit and chat with you a little bit. You could get to know you, get to see what you like about D&D. If it doesn't start with that, don't waste your time with it, because you're filling a seat at that point. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. But
No, I fully agree. I fully agree. And okay, so I can see both sides of the coin of play whatever class you want, and also fill class roles. I can see both sides of the coin there. But at any point in time that you come to a table and they go, "No, you are playing this class," nah,
yeah,
nah, nah. Because yeah, exactly that. At that point in time, you're just there to be a healer.
yeah.
That's all we need for you.
Now this is
We don't want our characters to die. That's all that
now the
is.
caveat for this is if you are an outside entity coming into a group. When you've been together, like for us, for example, we've been playing for a while, and we will on the next campaign, someone will have to take the short straw and go, okay, I guess I'll play the cleric this time. But that's a friend group making a cohesive decision as a play group. You shouldn't be put into that on day one. When you're sitting around with you and your brother and your brother's girlfriend and your nephew and your nephew's buddy, and you also all sitting around to play D&D, let people play what they want, man. Just learn the game, have fun with it, because guess what? You don't have to have the holy trinity. This isn't World of Warcraft. You don't have to have a tank and a DPS and a healer to do anything. That's another big myth to dispel from the RPG thing. You can do more, but a talented DM will adjust the campaign to fit the actual group, not just the adventure, but the campaign itself.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Sorry, but
I
go ahead, dude.
no, you're good. You're good. And I was also going to say that, like, even when you do stuff like that, where it's like, oh, fill a slot, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like nobody's gonna expect you to be like, oh, be a life cleric. If you want to, you can be anything. Like you can fill multiple roles in D&D. Like you don't have to just be that one solid thing.
Hmm.
So there's ways to work around it, even if there is kind of like a fill a slot kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like yeah, because I mean, I played a light cleric. I'm throwing fireballs, but hey, I can also heal you real quick.
Yeah. All
You
right.
know, you know.
And the one game that I'm in, I'm playing a grave cleric, and I'm healing and absorbing and mitigating damage like a madman. So it's the flexibility in the rule set, even within your class, allows you to kind of find. I want to be a fighter, but I want to be able to cast a spell. There's 2 or 3 subclasses that let you do that. I want to be the supreme archer. I want to be a ranger. Don't be a ranger. Go be a fighter. Sorry.
Yeah, that's the one thing I will say. Fifth edition has. I mean, you might have fun as a ranger. I don't know. Maybe you'll have fun as a ranger. In my opinion, fifth edition did them bad. Like, but
The ranger is ideal for specific styles of campaigns.
fair.
The travel, the exploration, the survival, the trekking across the Great Barrier Peaks to find this and that and the other. Having a ranger in your group adds an entire new layer and gameplay dynamic to it. But heading down the yawning portal after you drank a beer with Durnan and going down there to kick some ass, yeah, your ranger's going to be a little bit gimped down there compared to a fighter. So, as you plunge into level 3 of yet another collection of 10-foot wide, 100-foot long winding corridors that you don't have more than 30 line of sight feet on, so you're sitting here going, gee, guys, this is fun. Here, let me use my favorite terrain of brick.
I was gonna say, why did I take forest as my favorite terrain?
So, but I mean, that's an example, and it's not trying to bag on a ranger. If I'm a DM and some guys call me up and say, "Hey, we want a game. 3 of us want to play rangers." I'm gonna design a campaign, a setting, something like that gives it to them, that they get to star in, they get to that lets their abilities and their skills shine. And that's where we get back to the framework, the rules. The rules will support whatever you want once you learn the rules. It's all about difficulty checks, learning which skills to pair up with which activity. So were you about to say something, dude? Because
No, I was
I'll
just
keep running my damn mouth.
no, I was just agreeing with you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, but and yeah, that is also a thing that, like, going into a game of D&D that a lot of people wouldn't think about. If you want to play a whole party of rangers, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Go for it. Like, honestly, you can. Yeah, yeah.
I
Like,
will
we have what, two bards in one of ours.
Waterdeep.
Where we have, yeah.
We're playing Waterdeep, Heist of the Mad Mages Apocalypse, just an amalgamation of the three modules that are set within 100 miles of each other. It's stupid for them to be separate. Screw you, wizards, but doesn't matter. Point being, yeah, we've got two bards, a wizard, a warlock, a rogue, and a druid. There's no
All
tank, there's no heal, and it's one of the most entertaining campaigns we have because they're being their characters, they're being who they are. And it's not even like they're using the city as a base. They're inhabiting life in the city. They're pissed off about a window getting broke. They're buddies with the street kids. They're romancing the guards so they can sure they can get their shit through the north gate. They've got a trade dispute with an ale house around the corner who makes better pork than they do. So they're trying to buy this poor guy out.
Yep.
This is Dungeons and Dragons just as much as going in there and stabbing Tiamat is Dungeons and Dragons, y'all.
I had fun waiting in line to get into a strip club at one point in time in this campaign. Just shit talking with people. Putting my foot in my mouth the whole time.
So this is the Waterdeep campaign is a great example of the right people in the right place as far as a play group, but more importantly that it's your Waterdeep is. I mean, if you know anything about Dungeons, if you know anything about D&D, you know how big Waterdeep is. If you don't, if you saw the Neverwinter City on the D&D movie, that fits into like one corner of Waterdeep. Okay, Waterdeep's about 5 Neverwinters big, straight up. And it's got a big old mountain that's got a published 27 level dungeon that goes underneath it. Okay, so it's a but it's such a and it's such a fun setting to be able to just have regular adventures in, but to also let your players really experience being who they are. You know, the bards, they're bards, they're performers, they're musicians. So they do Battle of the Bands. They get invited to noble houses to perform. Of course, you know, some of that stuff gets missed, but point being, you know, the rogue, she wants to steal shit. We're going to give her shit to steal. We're in a city, you know? And then I'll distract them with a circus as the person they're trying to track gets away.
Yeah, that is really the campaign of, yeah, we're six halves of a whole idiot. That's really that's really the epitome of that. Um, where and that's also a thing, right? Don't be afraid to mess up in a game. We have messed up at every turn during Waterdeep, and it's still been fun. We've been arrested for kidnapping a noble kid, even though we were trying to protect him. We wound up, causing the frightful, okay, we caused like a panic of a plague happening for a disease that doesn't even exist. We've done everything wrong at every campaign and had fun the whole time.
Yeah.
The whole time.
You know, and part of that is, a lot of that is my responsibility as a dungeon master. If you are a binary person where you're going to have to figure out how to do reward and failure, success is reward, failure is you win this, you continue, you lose this, you're over. Relax, take a breath, because your players are never going to do are very rarely going to do what you have planned for them. Are very rarely going to follow the most direct route. And some of that is our fault as a dungeon master, man. Say like you're kind of doing you're a George R.R. Martin guy and you want to expound on the look of this feast for 15 minutes. Expect your players to not eat it because they don't trust it because you described it way too good. There must be something wrong with that. Nah, man, he talked about that wine for like 5 minutes. I ain't drinking that. That shit's poisonous, yo. And you're like, I'm just trying to give you a good meal.
At one point in time, we ran into a trapped door and then spent the next 30 minutes trying to make sure that the door still wasn't trapped. Players will never never do the thing that you expect ever.
So, moving into being a dungeon master for a new group, relax. Be flexible. More than anything else, be flexible. That's where I think the misconception that you have to know everything to be a DM comes from. Because you do have to be quick on your feet. you do have to have a little bit of extra content, a couple extra names, maybe one or two tangents to handle if your players they're supposed to be hanging out in the bar talking to someone, waiting for the contact to come up. Contact comes up, says something snide, your boy shanks him and kick, cuts his kidney out. What do you do? Well, my quest depended on them talking to that guy, buying him a beer, and then he was going to tell him where the next step went, but they killed him. So expect that to happen. Expect to have an alternate to get him going. you
Well,
know?
it's a good thing that he had this note on him that told you all the information that you
Yeah,
needed to know.
exactly.
You know, kind of stuff. Yeah.
His twin brother Carl comes walking in looking for Merle. Merle! Man, what happened to my brother? He was supposed to meet me because I was supposed to meet a group of people here. I told him to meet me here. You instantly go from a conflict to a forced, deceptive roleplay situation, But,
Yeah.
so I mean, just little things that you can tweak. And when you get those ideas, if you don't have a good memory, jot them down. Get yourself a little Word doc, a spreadsheet, something like that, because they all end up adding up. That's where the world building comes from. It doesn't necessarily come from one source. It comes from a multitude of ideas.
So sometimes as a DM, you will just mess up. Just mess up. I was talking to Jim about this the other day, where I tried to fix an encounter that I knew was going to be deadly. Like I had an encounter planned in my head, and I was like, okay. I started looking into the monsters, and I was like, oh no, this will be a TPK if I do this. So I was like, okay, I'll just roll it back to this kind of monster instead, and just read a little bit of it. It was like, yeah, that's fine. Not realizing that there was a move that I could insta kill any party member with on that character on that creature, and so it spawned in. I did that, rolled almost a character's full health. He wound up having 2 HP by the time one attack went off. I was like, oh, well, that's not what I intended to happen.
Dang, this
Yeah,
cursed CR.
yeah, yeah. Exactly that. Where it's like, okay, well, now I have to figure out how to fix this real fast.
Well, the last CR9 monster they fought was really, really easy. What the heck?
Well, they were still weak because they were trapped inside of an obelisk. They were just a weakened one. That's what happened.
That's it. There you go. There you go. Thankfully, the shaking of its thunderous steps knocks a beam off overhead that breaks its neck, and you don't have to kill it. But yeah, so I mean, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that was actually a thing from another D&D YouTuber. He was talking about, his players pushed over an obelisk that, summoned a Mesoloth, and it's like they have to survive for 10 rounds. Like they're not going to kill it. You just have to survive for 10 rounds.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, just once again going back to the new players, what is D&D? It's a collaborative storytelling experience. You get to roll some cool dice, fight some cool monsters, get into make some good moments and memories with your friends, with your group. You might be with friends and family and actually be able to build and have fun together as you are. You might be meeting new people, making new friends, and growing your social circle through D&D. Whether it's online, whether it's a Discord, Facebook, whether it's the local gaming store doing Adventure League. Don't be afraid to try it. You don't have to know everything when you start. If anyone expects you to know everything when you start, DM Geezer says they're a dick, and you don't need to play with them anyway. Okay?
I fully agree.
So
nobody knows everything about a game when they start. Nobody does.
No one knows anything about everything about this game right now.
Yeah,
Nobody does.
That's completely fair. Completely fair, and that's why they keep having to issue like things going. Okay, look, let us clarify rules real quick.
Yeah,
because nobody does. Not even the people who made the game.
And I think that's where, as good as social media and internet connectivity has been for D&D as far as increasing awareness, connectivity, availability of play groups and products and all of that, I think it's also put the edge on it to where people feel like it's something I can't do because all of these people argue about how you're supposed to do it. So throw all that shit in the trash, okay? What you do at your table with your friends is the right way to play because you're having fun, you're making it work, and you're going week in, week out playing. Don't think because your friend says on a Reddit board it's this way and that way and the other. I read on Reddit. Was it the author of the rule? Well, no. Was it author of the book? Well, no. Then F off, because the author of the book is right here saying this. I don't care what your Reddit thread says. Don't bog yourself into stressing on that kind of shit, y'all. It's okay, you know?
Yeah.
What sounds fun? Well, this is what the rule says, but that sounds kind of fun. Let's go ahead and do that. It's okay.
I think probably like the biggest message out of all of this, because we were talking about what is D&D,
Yeah, right.
and it is a collaborative storytelling experience, but at the end of the day, what it really is it's a game. It's a game. Just have fun with it. Just like when you were a little kid and you played Candyland and you had no idea how it worked and you just had fun playing it.
Mm-hmm.
Just have fun. At the end of the day, it's just a game that you get to play with a group of people and have fun.
You know, when you
You know?
were 11 and 12 years old, and the building, the houses across the street were getting built, and you go grab the little lumber and make guns and swords, and have your imaginary. That's D&D now. We're just sitting in the comfort of our chairs of our homes, rolling dice and doing it with our voices in our heads. Don't let you're tapping into your inner kid imagination when you're playing D&D. You're being that imaginative what if kid again. What if? Let yourself do what if, man. Indulge a little bit. Let the kid out. Wouldn't it be cool if D&D let you do it, D&D let you get in there and have some fun. Really getting, like I said, there is a lot to the game, but you don't have to have a lot or know a lot to start. There's just a little bit of stuff, the basic rules available online in multiple different formats. If you kind of heard about D&D during the OSR debacle and the OGL horse pucky that went down, there's ways to get the rules without even participating in the system. It's okay. No one cares. No one cares. It's like that meme from the Jurassic Park. No one cares. You've got your rules. Play. And play often and make mistakes, and don't be afraid to make mistakes, because that's where you're going to do a lot of your learning. Don't be afraid to say yes to your players when they want to do stuff, because you're going to make mistakes and everyone's going to be able to learn. But don't be afraid to say no as well. That comes with a little bit more time, and that I might go ahead and, I don't want to say close, but that is a good comment to make, especially D&D DMs and players both. When you're getting in, you're getting excited, things are kind of going, you just want to keep the thing moving forward. You want the good vibes, the good feels. So it's like DM's going to say, I'm going to take all this, that, and the other and do this to you. I'm going to take away your weapons, and I'm going to, take away all of your spells and make you change into this class. And you're like, okay. Just the same as the DM and your new player rolls up and says, hey, I want to be able to dual wield wands and use my wand for a main hand attack and my other wand for a bonus offhand action. And you're new to D&D and your guy's excited and you're like, okay. Both of those are huge no-nos. So you won't learn that until you've said okay to both as a player and as a DM. And then you realize where down the line you should have said no. So you look like you're about to say something, dude.
Oh no. I
sorry.
was just completely agreeing with you. Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah.
But,
It's okay to say no. It really is.
Yeah.
And that's something that I struggle with even now. Like when I DM sometimes, where it's just like, because I'm also in the same headspace of let's see where this goes. So sometimes you do have to just say no. Sometimes like and even you can also say no without saying no, right? Where like a player's like oh, I want to do this thing, and this could be part of your story where if they do it, it's going to mess it up. Like okay, so like a magical door of some kind. Like, oh, I want to strength check this door, to break it down or something like that. Make it a DC that's so high that they'll never hit it.
Mm-hmm.
You say no to them, and they never know that you said no to them.
Yeah. You don't necessarily always need to reveal your DCs.
Yeah, exactly.
But that is one thing, and I'm gonna be straight up and say that's something I kind of make a mistake about, because I do a lot of behind the screen discussions with my players as we're going through the campaigns, in the hopes of making sure that we're being clear, we're on the same page, and trying to, because I play with some DMs as well, so maybe giving them some thoughts, some techniques, some tips as we go. but be consistent with what you end up doing. If you don't tell them a CR to start with, never tell them a CR forward. You know, if you tell them CRs, be forthcoming with your CR. That's kind of like what Josh was saying earlier about your die rolling in front of or behind the screen. Whatever your decision, there's no wrong decision. Just be consistent about it. When you make a mistake and you choose to keep that mistake, be consistent with that mistake. You know, encourage your players to be creative. Like one of my lines is, "I'll allow it, but it's not precedence." Which
Yeah.
which
I'll let you
means
get away with it this time.
it's a cool idea, but if I let you do it now, my brain has already thought of 23 different places where you can use that for reels. So I always say that I'll allow it, but it's not precedence. And they're like, okay, cool. Because you play with experienced players, you play with smart players. They'll come back and say, hey, remember that one time when we did this and this? Well, if we do this plus this plus this now, 8 levels later, guess what? Yeah, but you remember when I said wasn't precedence?
Yeah.
So, but that's, go ahead.
It wasn't. And I was gonna say it wasn't until just now when you were talking about this that I just realized that I never actually tell players DCs. I actually don't typically have DCs in mind whenever I have somebody roll a DC. I typically wait for them to roll and go, yeah, or nah. Like honestly,
I tell y'all all the
I
time.
yeah,
I tell y'all
yeah.
every single one of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where I absolutely I do not come up with it until it is being rolled, and I'm like,
Yeah.
if he'll hit a 15, I'll let him have it, kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The only ones
where it's
I
just kind of
don't,
like
the only
going through
ones
the
I
motions
don't,
with it first.
well, the only ones I don't tell you for the targets are like your like investigation or perception, something that's an unknown. I don't tell you what the DC is because I don't suddenly reveal. Uh, we're gonna save that stuff for a different episode.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
because I
yeah,
could
yeah,
go all kinds
yeah.
of sideways on that.
Yeah, we can get into that later. Yeah,
We're trying to. I think we're doing a decent job, just trying to stay focused on what is D&D for a new person. What can you expect when to play? What do you prepare for a little bit? Go ahead.
yeah. I was actually, I can't believe we never mentioned this. Do a session 0. Do a
Oh,
session 0.
duh, 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 duh,
I
duh,
can't
duh,
believe
duh.
we did not. Yeah,
In my
absolutely do a session
brain, I had that whole conversation about the session 0 when the dude named Bob said show up with the cleric.
0. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, we're gonna
Do
go. We're gonna go a few more minutes here, and then I promise we'll end. The
yes.
most important part. So if you cut out early, don't blame us because you didn't learn about session 0. You should have watched the whole episode. But session 0, session 0.5, session 0.9. It's a check-in session. It's your session 0 as it is by design is when the group of players and the DM all sit down and meet each other as people, talk about the rules, make sure that everyone's on the same page as far as any homebrew things, discuss personal limits, not character limits, but personal limits. What's off out of bounds for me? If we're in a romantic thing, we need to cut to black. Check. I don't want to ever see any kids getting hurt in the game. Check. Whatever. The things that you have as a person, that's where you bring them up to the table. I'm sure you got a couple other ones to throw in there. There's a lot in my head, but I'll run my mouth. I won't let my boy talk too.
Oh no, no, no. Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said so far. But that's also where you can, as players, discuss character building and stuff like that. Sometimes you might even go, "Hey, well, our characters just so happen to have like the same town that we're from. Maybe we know each other, and you can actually like collaborate that kind of stuff at the table right there, right then. And understand each other better too. That's also a chance for that. You can get to know who you're playing with before you ever play with them.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's it. I'll go through too much trouble. I actually send a survey out to new players, changing up the
Oh
dialogue.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it's especially when someone doesn't know what D&D is, and you go, "Oh, welcome to D&D. You want to join a campaign? What do you like about D&D?" They're like, "I don't know yet because I want to learn how to play." You're like, well, what sounds best to you? Role play, combat, or exploration? I don't know yet because I've never done it. So, you take the time and turn it into terminologies and hypotheticals and what ifs that kind of guide their thinking. Oh, that sounds fun. Like one of mine is how do you feel about character advancement? Is it what makes you feel like your character has advanced that session? Is it you got a new shiny piece of loot? new badass sword? Is it because you gained a level and you're looking forward to gaining a level as often as you can? Is it because you had a really fun role play session with the group? Is it because you made progress on the big goal? Or is it, so based on those four answers, I can kind of, even someone that's never played D&D can tell me what sounds fun to them,
Yeah,
you know? So
absolutely.
as a DM, when you're hosting a session zero, there's a lot of mechanical questions that you need to pose to your group in a way that they can understand. I use an overreaching statement. I always say the last thing you want to do is pair a murder hobo with a drama queen, or a drama kid, excuse me. A murder hobo, they're here to roll dice, kill everything they can, find a reason to kill whatever doesn't attack them. Your drama kid is there to engage in the role play, get into the scenario, inhabit their character, have good dialogue with the farmer as they pass on the road. Those two dudes are not going to, or girls, or people, excuse me, those two people are not going to get along at the same table. Not often. Now, we have our tendencies, and as you get to know each other and your group gets stronger, you'll shift between the drama person and the murder hobo. But day one, you want to make sure that your group is at least aligned on most of their goals, at least aligned on most of what they like.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, and also session zero people, you're coming up with backstories, rolling characters, stuff like that. Um, don't be prepared for your backstory to change. Like don't be so dead set when you go into your session zero of like this is what I want 100%, because like it could be that like the campaign is happening so far away from where you want your character to be from that you might have to move them. So it makes sense that they're where they are at level one. It could be it could even be as you progress through playing your character, you decide other information about them. Like don't be just so dead set like 100%. This is what's going to happen. Be flexible. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, that's it.
absolutely.
I mean, in regards to backstory, everyone should have one, but my distinct opinion is one or two things of your backstory might drive you forward, but the majority of your backstory is your past. Leave the
Yeah,
back behind. You know, for DMs, backstory can get a little bit tricky early on. Have fun with it. If the people want to have a big old epic background behind them, that's okay, because it's not going to affect the first couple sessions as you're learning how to play the game. If the player wants to get engaged and write a 2-page backstory about how they avoided Barrett Overrun and his force of necro goblin soldiers as they rampaged across, and he was the only survivor after fighting them all, it doesn't matter. Let the player have fun with it. Give it to them early, because right now you're still learning D&D. The
yeah,
focus is on, are they excited to be at the table? Are they invested in their character? That's where we're going to start. From there, you can kind of tweak a little bit. I'm kind of I'm strict on my backstories, according to some people. I have rules for backstory creation.
I think you are. I honestly think you're pretty reasonable because that was actually going to be a thing that I was going to say is that like something because like I'd never thought about one is like a certain aspect of backstories until you brought it up, which is how are you level one if this has happened to you? Like if your character has gone from one side of the map to the other, and I fought in 16 wars and stuff like that, how are you level one? you know,
you know,
so
uh, go ahead, dude.
yeah, I was gonna say that's something I never really had thought about because like there's been times where I'm like, oh, I want to have this super epic backstory, but it's like, okay, if you're already the best person ever, why are you adventuring with this group of nobodies? Why are you level one?
My rules I refer to, I have three. Number one is your background has to line up with your experience level, just like Josh was saying. You know, you're plain and simple. Your backstory has to make sense for where your character is right now. Number two, your backstory cannot give you material gain over the rest of the party. You can't be the nephew of an aunt who's shacked up with Morden Kanan, and when it's time, you can get your magic flying carpet because you call your aunt and he owes her one. No, no, no. You can't have anything that gives you material gain over the rest of your party. And unless this is one that there's an exception that pulls a rule, but your backstory cannot be at such a depth that it overrides the campaign. You can't design a back. I won't accept a backstory that I know is going to hijack the campaign and take 4 people and make them support you on your quest. That's not why we're here. We're here to have a fun game together. The caveat being, if it's been a group of people that have played together a long time and they want to do something like that, and everyone is in agreement with that, then I'll support that. But by and large, that's it. Makes sense for who you are at your level. Doesn't give you a pile of gold or a bunch of magic weapons sitting in a closet somewhere. Doesn't hijack everyone's time at the table. Outside of that, I let stuff flow.
And like on the material thing, don't be afraid to play noble just because like you don't have material. Just write it into your backstory for a reason why you don't have very much money on you. Like for instance, I'm playing a noble who's trying to make a name for himself outside of his family. I left with nothing, you know. So so you can still
Yeah.
do things where your character is from money, you know, like but just make it sensible.
Yeah,
Don't just
absolutely.
be like, "Hey, DM, can I come in with like 5,000 platinum just because my family's rich?" Like, you know.
And that's DM tipping as well. But yeah, economy, completely different episode we'll talk about on a different side.
Yeah,
So don't
that's
early on let your characters get that big old chest of gold. Let your characters find that ruby worth 500 until you start world building and really start figuring that out, and then you're going to be all of a sudden regretting every copper piece you ever given away. But for
and
early on, I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead,
I
dude.
was gonna say, and that's actually a thing too, is that like different campaign settings um have different magic levels, have different economies. So like, don't be afraid to go. Okay, this is a place where a mug of ale costs you 5 gold, which is a crazy high price. But like that might just be how their economy works. Like they might be more gold based than they might be silver or copper based, and
Yeah.
that's
You can
yeah,
completely eliminate all coin lines except for copper or except for
yeah.
gold, except for it doesn't matter. It's up to you. You know.
We'll do economy later. We'll do
Yeah, yeah,
economy
yeah, yeah,
later.
yeah, yeah. Well, I could
Look,
we could
nobody cares
argue
about
for.
Electrum. That's all I'm going to say. Nobody cares about Electrum. They should just remove it as a currency.
We'll worry about yeah, but yeah. So that's a but that shows you just that brief little diversion we just had shows you how deep D&D can potentially be. You know, when you get into the next level and you're building a world and you start figuring out, okay, well, where is Farmer John, who was too poor to hire a bodyguard to chase off that 18CR red brand standing out in front? Where's he getting this 18,242 gold to buy all my shit?
Yeah,
So that's why
yeah,
we're ignoring economies for now. We can go way down a rabbit hole. When you're into the game, that does not matter. When you're new in the game, when you're basic, you're first getting a economy doesn't matter, the government doesn't matter. All that matters is that you are sitting there with a group of your friends. Everyone has a reasonable idea of how the action economy flows, how the turn order flows, and they have a reasonable idea of what their characters can do. That's how you start playing D&D. That's what you need. If you're
absolutely,
going
100%.
online, make sure you've got your session zero. Make sure that you're spending time with people to get to know the people before you play, because it can sour your D&D experience. I've joined 3 campaigns and everyone's assholes. Screw that game. That's not fair to you as a player, because it may just been knowledge level, it may just been skill level, or they may just been dicks. We don't know. So take the time to get to know the people as part of
Absolutely.
an online game.
Hey.
Anything else you want to throw in there, bro?
No,
Because we're getting on a
that's
little
it.
over an hour. I think
Yeah,
people
I was gonna
get
say,
sick
yeah.
of
If we
get
keep
sick of
talking,
me after about an hour.
we'll get way into other nonsense if
Yeah.
we keep talking. Yeah.
So yeah, just to summarize, D&D is a fun time. It's a collaborative story building thing. It's a game, as Josh has so basically pointed out. You're here to spend time with your friends, having fun, building a story, making moments, rolling dice, having some laughs. All you need to do that is other interested people, basic knowledge of the rules, a die emulator if you're online, a set of crappy cheap dice from Dollars to General if you're not, a little bit of imagination. Um, Relax, get rid of your inhibitions. You've already decided that you want to play D&D. As Josh said, you're a nerd. It's okay. There's millions of us out. There's billion nerds rule the world right now. Welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome in. Welcome in. Standing on the outside trying to be some cool guy. No, come play D&D, be cool.
Absolutely.
So if you're playing D&D, you've already joined a like-minded community who's willing to inhabit a world with you, to inhabit a story with each other. So that whole thing is gone. Okay? You're not a weirdo. Once you sit down at the table, we're all weirdos together. We're all normal together. It's okay. Um, yeah, man, that's kind of the basics of what I think D&D is and what you really need to do to play. You know,
Absolutely.
is there anything else you want to drop in there, man, before we finish this sucker up?
No, I think that's it.
So, yeah, I'm giving evil eye to Josh and threatening him with all kinds of roles, but
I know.
we should be getting a little bit more regular about getting these little chats up once in a while. This is on the YouTube channel. I encourage him to get his YouTube channel up as well, so we can get this video loaded on his stuff. But yeah, if you're with us, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your view and all of that. Drop something in the comments. Let us know what you think. If you have any questions, if you want us to go into more details, if you have something you want us to talk about in the future, throw something up in the comments so we can know about it. Between the two of us, I'd probably say we've got easily 40 to 45 years of D&D knowledge and experience between us. I'm not saying that makes us experts, but I am saying that.
That's like 35 years for him. Like,
But odds are we can talk about it. We can pull it apart. At the very least, we can have some fun talking some smack about something we got to learn about. Because that's the other thing about being a Dungeons and Dragons player, Dungeons and Dragons DM. You're never going to stop learning if you continue playing the game. There's always something else out there for you to learn. Always something else out there for you to invest in. Lore, rule sets, options for characters, spells, settings, all of that. It's a huge, huge, huge universe. So. But yeah, thanks for following. DMGeezerjim here. Like this video, subscribe to us on Facebook. I spend some time over on Twitch. All my handles everything's the same, man. DMGeezerjim. You can find me on Facebook, find me on Twitch, find me on Etsy, find me on Patreon, and you obviously found us here on YouTube. Josh, you want to plug any of your stuff here?
no, not yet. I'm no. And here's the thing: is going to be so bad for me is I'm going to have to remake everything because I've had the same username for 20 years. I have been going by Tenfen for 20 years now. And now I'm going to websites and it's taken. It's taken. And I have no idea. And so like now I'm having to like change my entire online persona in order to make it uniform. Oh, it's so bad. It hurts.
I've had 3. This is actually my 4th. DMGeezerjim is now my 4th. My first one was Hoe Cakes. My second one was Hoochie Mama. And then it was Geezer. And now it's DMGeezerjim. No one wanted to be a hoe cake. No one wanted to be a hoochie mama. I had those tags for years, bro. So
See, I have no idea why anybody would take that username, but like, yeah, I my Twitch is like grizzly_Tenfen.
okay.
Like on Steam, I have to be Captain Ronstad. Like, I'm having to like, yeah, so I'm having to go in and like make new everything. So like, it's taken me a while.
Yeah, so yeah, I used to spend so much time on first person shooters, man. Battlefield 2, Battlefield 21, 42, 42, all that. So if you've been bumped off by hoe cakes or hoochie mama, right here, y'all. And I'm sorry because it's an ugly old man and not some hot chick because chicks weren't playing then. But anyway, I'm rambling too much here. We're getting on the tail end of my conversation. I may actually cut off this last couple seconds, but I'm kidding. We're having fun just being dudes. But hey, thanks a bunch. I'm gonna go ahead and load up the video now. Look for us on the YouTube channel. We were off this week for our schedule, but we should be back next week with episode 4. So one last shameless plug there, and we are out of here. Say bye, Josh.
Bye, Josh.